Okay, so next what we're doing is letters I through L. These are actually kind of fun because they all have, like this one has the little flourish that the F does. The K is kind of interesting, so let's jump into them. The I is very simple. You start with a thin stroke up into a thick downstroke and then back up. There are a lot of different ways of doing an I. Like for instance, this one was really bad. But this is just one variation on the letter. In fact, I do I's in several different ways, but you'll notice that with the other two lettering styles that they are done differently. The lowercase I is you start with a thick downstroke, transition into a thin upstroke, and then dot the I. So this is essentially just an underturn with a dot. And then the uppercase J starts off the way the uppercase F did, only instead of crossing it this way, you're going to be pulling the tail up and over to kind of just create the tail. So with a thin stroke, we bring it over, up and down in a thick stroke, and then bring the thin stroke up. And this is an uppercase J. And the more that you practice it, the more comfortable you'll be with it. With the lowercase j, you start with a thick downstroke and transition into a thin upstroke. So this is essentially just a descending stem loop with a dot. And so this K is where I'm ending like the red guidelines, just because I feel like at this point it's more fluid and it's probably easier for you to continue. So for instance, this one shows you that the first step is to come up and down. So that's essentially doing like an uppercase I. And then you have this thin stroke and then a thick stroke into a thin. Now there are other K's where you would actually have this be a thick stroke, but just for this specific style, it has a thin stroke here. But again, that's just depending on the, I guess, the style of lettering that you're doing. The lowercase k has an ascending stem loop. Then we release the pen, and with light pressure, bring this over, and then down with a thick stroke and back up. The uppercase L, we start at the midline, with a thin stroke, transition to a thick stroke, and then create a small loop at the bottom with a thin stroke. And then the lowercase l, you start at the midline, and it's essentially doing an ascending stem loop, but you're adding a tail.